Another day, another night, wherever you are in the world. It's closing for me on this travel journey that I've been on. We're in Bali, back in Bali. We started here and then traveled up through Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and back to Bali. And man, what an experience! Such a cool trip. Vietnam is in the north, one of my favorite places on the planet. It is just incredible to see how people live with the mountains. I mean, they're so high up in the mountains that you can't even call it living in the mountains, because they don't just live in the mountains, they live with the mountains. And that's so cool to witness, like how they cultivate rocks from the mountains to use in agriculture, because the mountains are so steep they have to cut into the mountain with hand tools and build these little terraces, maybe 5 feet wide, 4 feet wide, and they grow rice and corn on these terraces. But they live in unity with nature, so it's kind of cool. But it's not very destructive. There's more of a relationship with the land, and that was something that I observed. I thought that was so cool. I'm like, in the West, we just destroy things, with chemicals, or the way we just take over entire areas. And I mean, this is happening in many parts of the world, but when you're that remote, when you're that high in the mountains, there has to be a relationship cultivated with nature, because of the extremities that you are in. But just in the desire to live off the land, there has to be a relationship. So that was so cool to witness and to see, and just to see how people live in other parts of the world. I mean, traveling is what I came to do, to learn about people. This was the whole idea. That I was going to come over here, see how people feel about love, see how people think, and start to understand the world in a better perspective. But really, in reality, I ended up learning so much more about myself. And I think that that's been the most valuable education on this journey, is just that realization. I came to learn something externally from me, which I did. But the amount of information that I learned about myself just in trying something new has just been priceless. I mean, you can't get this unless you try something new. You experience things and you break patterns within your life. And honestly, that's why I started traveling. The routine that was happening in Vancouver it was just becoming monotonous. Even though I'm very free over there and I don't have to be bound to certain structures, it still became a comfort and a complacency that I wanted to break. I wasn't maybe ready to leave. I could admit that. I can be honest about that. There was other forces that were compelling me to leave, and I might not have left following my true intention, to my honest self, but I left one way or another. And with that, you learn, you learn about following your own heart and speaking your own truth and listening to you from the inside. So that was interesting to learn about myself, seeing others do all these free, wonderful, wild things. And I thought I was ready to go. But in turn, I might have needed to learn about grounding a whole lot more. And I just like to share that with you. Like, grounding, having a foundation, setting the practice of who you are is everything. Like, it's absolutely everything, because then you are who you are wherever you are in the world. And my practices for myself were disciplined at home, but not disciplined enough. I came over here and I was doing my yoga routine, my exercise routine, and my meditation routine for maybe a week. And then I fell out of it, because traveling is exhausting. I'm not going to lie to you. Traveling is freaking exhausting. You think you're on vacation, and everyone thinks, you're just living this free, wonderful life, which you are. But the amount of times you bounce from one place to the next, man, it burns you out quick time. And you start, adopting the mentality of vacation, and accepting all that vacation has to offer. And I did that from an old world thinking, because I wasn't grounded enough in my practice. So again, I don't beat myself up for that. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that I fell out of practice, because it just teaches me that I need to be that much more disciplined at home. And it allowed me to come to these realizations of how important that is. So understanding yourself through experience and gaining the education is the way you grow. Like, that's how you get there. I could stay inside of an emotional repetitive cycle of, guilt, shame, regret, all these things, but why? It serves me no purpose. To be anxious and stressed out that I'm not doing my routine just how I had it in Canada, what's the point? I'm learning something. Lessons in life are difficult, and when they're difficult, they're the best because they stay with you. And that's the wonderful thing about difficult lessons. Most often, we are afraid of difficult things because of the results, because we're too afraid to try and fail and try and fail. But failure is just a perception of the mind, because what is failure? Failure is just temporary defeat. It's a matter of perspective, right? If you allow failure to overcome you and keep you down and hold you back, and you only see the negatives within failure, yeah, you will tell yourself you have failed at something. But if you shift your perspective and look at it from a different angle and go, okay, that was difficult and it didn't work out the way I wanted to, but what did I learn from that? Then you take education with you. And education, when you apply it in your life, it can be used for the next attempt, which makes it so wonderful. I mean, because that's a life lesson. Whether it's big or whether it's small, it doesn't matter. It's education. And it frees you from that emotional repetitive cycle that just kind of keeps you in one place. Like, that's what fear, anxiety, and stress does. Shame, guilt, regret, jealousy, these kind of things that just hold us back in one place. And most people say to me, like, how do I break free from that? How do you just let go? Well, letting go is just shifting a perspective. You just have to change the way you see things in life. This is imperative for emotional traumas. Emotional traumas hold you back because you're stuck inside of the repetitive cycle of the emotion. You can't change your perspective to see what the experience is there to teach you. And it's within that shift that you're going to learn something. And now you've created and gained a life lesson, which goes in your tool bag of life. I can't stress to you enough how much this will help you in your life by just shifting the way you see things. Because I know many people are tired of being in the same place. And I know we don't talk about this. Processing emotions is not something that is openly talked about or taught in schools or even taught through family members. And I'll tell you why. It's because no one's been taught how to do it from generations. So the way we've been raised in our lives is the same way our parents were raised, because there's no manual for parenting. And let's be real, the way we parent in these tiny homes with two individuals and only their perspectives and their experiences embedded into us, coupled with their fears, their stresses, their anxieties, they hold us back. They don't really open all the doors for us like parenting is supposed to. I mean, who doesn't want to open every door for their child? Rather than open all those doors, we put all these fear, anxiety, and stresses on the child, and it limits them right from the beginning. So much so that when you're a child, you're told not to use your voice. Too much noise is quieted. And that's just a part of being a child, is being filled with this energy and filled with this love, but yet we're stunted at a very young age. And that's okay, because it's just a result of what our parents have been taught. We can't blame them, and we can't play the victim, because blame and victim mentality doesn't allow you to move anywhere in life. It just holds you back in one place, coupled with that emotion, right? That fear. So if we break free from these ideologies and we accept the realities of what is, we can shape our own reality. We can say, okay, my parents were raised in this manner because my grandparents raised them in this manner, because nobody was talking about love and nobody was talking about emotions, because life was very difficult back then. Children were meant to be seen and not heard, which is insane. So I have to appreciate that, because now I'm in 2022 and I can understand that this is a direct result of a timeline. And once you appreciate that, you can shape your own future into whatever you want and see life how you want to see it, because you can begin to learn in your own manner from your experiences. And this will be your greatest asset. A shift in perspective and an understanding of the past will help you live in the present moment. Because understanding your past is better than being stuck in the emotional repetitive cycle of the past, because that doesn't serve you any purpose in the present moment. It just doesn't. And I know it's difficult to break free from, but it's only as difficult as you make it. With a shift in perspective, you can change that reality very quickly. You can bring yourself to the present moment. And just in the thought process of that will bring you to the awareness of the present moment, because that's everything. Like being aware of situations and being able to calculate it and understand it in your own logic will help you better make decisions that will affect your future. Because the present moment's all you have. That's the only thing you can affect. And with emotions, often we stay stuck in them because it's something we know. We know how to be sad. We know how to be afraid. We know how to be anxious. We know how to be stressed out. But in the West, many people medicate. They don't communicate. You know, we might say, who do we communicate with, right? Well, you communicate with yourself first. Everything that matters happens inside you first. This is where it all begins. Before you pour it out to somebody else, you've got to understand you and what you want to tell somebody else from your heart. So you're being true to you, so that when you speak out, you speak your truth. Because that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what that truth sounds like as long as it's honest, because that's how you heal. That's how you grow. And the person you tell that truth to may not be receptive to it, but that's okay, because you got some out. And then you work that on the next one. Because anything you practice, you get good at. Speaking our truth is a big part of processing emotions. It's one of the reasons that we hold emotions in, is because we're so afraid to speak our truth for fear of judgment. And that in itself, I'm going to give you this. There's 8 billion people on the planet, man. It doesn't matter if somebody likes you or doesn't like you or judges you for whatever reason, insecurity that they see within themselves. Because that's what judgment is. Judgment is just an insecurity within another. And they want to put that on you, you know, because they see that in themselves. And that makes them feel better about themselves. It's an embellishment in ego. That's what judgment is. And you don't have to be afraid of that. Because as long as you speak your truth and you're honest and you're authentic, what do you have to lose? You don't have anything to lose, because you're learning about yourself and you're learning how to use your voice. And this is a beautiful part of processing emotions, learning how to use your voice. This is why the emotions stay so deep inside of us, is because we don't talk about them. We don't share the experiences that help shape us. I mean, take myself, for example. I spent over half of my life using drugs. I was homeless. I was in prison. Was it difficult for me to speak my truth when I first started doing my Facebook videos where all this started? Man, I remember when I sat in front of that camera for the first time, I was like, I was just compelled to do it, because man, I got out of prison. Like I was shaped in a different way. I had accepted spirituality, and spirituality had accepted me. And remember, spirituality is just love. So I had love for self and love for others. And I thought, you know, man, I spent over half my life. I mean, that's longer than people go to school to learn things. So I learned some things about this situation and the experiences in my life. And you know what? Many people can associate with living with a lack of love. And why didn't I love myself? Because I couldn't communicate about the emotions I was storing inside of me. So you know what? I'm going to try it. I don't care who sees my stuff on Facebook, because you know what? I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. I was always doing this for me. And even this right now, as I share with you, I've gotten better at this because I kept going. I kept speaking my truth. And as I spoke my truth, I started to learn more and more about myself. And I started to learn how much we are all similar with how we think and how we feel. The experiences that cause emotional traumas are different, absolutely. But an emotion is an emotion no matter how you look at it. Fear is fear, anger is anger, sadness is sadness, happiness is happiness. The emotion is raw in itself. It's just the experience that we have trouble seeing in a different way, because we like to compare our lives with other people. But you can't do that. Everyone's on their own journey. Even with me, with being a drug addict for over half my life. Man, it's my lesson. That was my karmic lesson for this life. Because I look at life from a different perspective. I'm not here to make money. You know, that's not what life is, man. I'm not here to buy happiness, try and buy everything or sell myself. That's not what life is. Life is difficult because we're here to learn things through an emotional experience. But it's when we gain the education of the emotion that we navigate life on our own terms. And it sets you free, because you're able to remember what you felt in certain experiences when you come up to another one and you say, well, wait a minute. These people judge a lot of people. There must be something going on in their life, because I've done work on the inside of me, and I don't like to judge people because I know who I am and I know my journey. I know the things I went through. So you know what? I'm going to navigate around these people, and I'm going to try and find like-minded individuals like myself, because who you surround yourself with is going to shape your growth. This is a reality. If you're around people that like to talk shit about everybody, trust me, you are going to practice talking shit about everybody, or that is going to become normal within your life, because the people around you have made this acceptable to do. You got to look at that. So, is there a period of loneliness when you're going on a journey within? Of course there is. Only until you find yourself. And then you're never going to be alone. And I can't stress spirituality enough. I really, I want to share about this when you're talking about when we're talking about processing emotions, because finding something within yourself and opening it up, it's all there. Everybody has spirituality within them. Everybody does. Everybody has love within them. But our experiences over life have taught us to move away from love and be afraid, because the people that brought us up and the things we take in through social media and just everywhere in the world, it seems that fear is the thing that they sell you. It's become acceptable. Even though it's detrimental to our growth, it's something that we have adopted as a defense mechanism, to be afraid. It's safer for me to be afraid and stay inside of myself and not speak, because I know it. It's detrimental to my growth, but it's something I know, so it's comfortable for me. But I can't stress to you enough that once you open up spirituality within you and acceptance of self, the fear, anxiety, and stress goes away, because you'll never walk alone after that. That's what happened to me. That's how this whole journey started for me. I spoke some words in jail. I was reading a book about a biker named Mac Gober. The book was called Unchained, and in there he lived a very similar lifestyle to me, with the drugs and the craziness, and just, he was in the Vietnam War, and he lost himself. So I could associate with that. I was like, okay, this guy's living with a lack of love. You can read it in the book, no worries. And he lost himself completely. And I had too, and many of us do. You don't have to be brought to a jail cell to lose yourself. Many of us are losing ourselves in our home when we turn on the television every night and we turn on social media first thing in the morning, because we're distracting from ourselves, because we don't want to look at ourselves in the mirror and tell ourselves we love ourselves. So we distract from that. We distract from that connection within ourselves by distracting on the out. Whether it's addiction, video games, shopping, food, you name it. Pick one. Even relationships, even exercise. Anything that distracts you from processing emotions on the inside is detrimental to your growth. I knew this when I was in jail, and I'd had enough. I was homeless, did 2 years on the streets of Canada. You do a couple years on the street in Canada in the wintertime, let me tell you, no matter how long you've been in a drug addiction, for me, that was enough. I had enough. Not to mention I had no real friends. I was not real in any way, shape, or form. I was so dishonest. And yes, dishonest with everybody around me, but so dishonest with myself, which made everything detrimental to my growth. But I was reading this book, and the man had a spiritual awakening. His spiritual awakening was for him, but something that he said that he did was he surrendered his love to Jesus. Let me tell you, when I was reading this, I'm like, I went to church when I was a child and was baptized, and I did it because the family did it. I didn't really understand why we were doing it, because it was just a thing you did on Sunday in our small town, right? Everyone did it. I was like, okay, I'll go with the flow. And then when I was 12, I learned that the priests and the popes, these people that are the closest beings to God, were involved in pedophilia within the church, with altar boys and whatever it may be. And I thought, okay, like at 11, 12 years old, I was like, okay, so these guys are the closest guys to God, and they're bringing me his wisdom through them. And they're telling me that I need to stay on the straight and narrow, because if I go off this path of temptation, I will spend eternity in this place called hell. But that doesn't make any sense, because if they're not afraid of it, why should I be afraid of it? And that was my association with religion. So I kind of gave up on it. I was like, okay, that's not for me. But in my moment in prison, I decided that this guy had found a love. This guy found something through speaking these words, a connection with this this source that I wanted a piece of. I wanted to try. I mean, if this guy came from a life similar to mine and now he has this wonderful, beautiful life where he helps so many people and he understands love because he understands himself so much, then I'm going to try it because I had nothing. You know, I didn't want to take medication because I'd never really been a part of that pharmaceutical game. But the illegal prescriptions that I adopted for myself had kind of run out as well. I was getting tired of that too. So I tried this. And, you know, I believe the words were just a key to open my heart. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it was. I've talked to other people that had a spiritual awakening as well, and it's all quite similar. Some it's Buddha, some it's Krishna, some it's Allah, some it's Jesus. I believe the messages that these individuals brought, they were just teachers, and they were just teaching us to trust in a way to get back to source, because these individuals were teaching us about empathy, sympathy, compassion, kindness, trust, honesty, communication, all these wonderful things that religion doesn't teach you. They teach you division and fear and anxiety and stress and greed and power and control, everything that love isn't. So I learned that once I unlocked what was in my heart. I knew I didn't need to go to church and I didn't need to do these things within this organization, within this business, because to me that's what religion is. It's a business. So I looked at the spiritual teachers and what they did, and one of the things they did was speak their truth. So I knew that I had to be honest and authentic with myself because the love had been unlocked, and that's what love is. It's honesty and authenticity. And I knew I needed to do that with myself first. And in order to do that, I had to look at my past because it brought me to that present moment. Because I was carrying all those emotional traumas with me because I did a lot of damage. You know, over half your life living that way, you hurt some people. I stole some things. I did some things that weren't nice, you know. The 2 women that I shared time with, over the course of that time, they went through a very difficult period with me. Even the children. You know, I'm their father, but I'm not there right now, right? Because of my actions through drug addiction. But you know what? It wasn't serving me any purpose to be stuck inside of an emotional repetitive cycle of all that mountain of baggage that I was carrying around on my back. Fear, anxiety, and stress, guilt, shame, remorse, all these negative things for me. I decided in that moment I was going to detach. And how I did that was I just allowed the reality of everything that had already happened. I couldn't change it. I had to accept the past for what it was because I couldn't change it. You can't go back in time, right? So it didn't serve me any purpose to waste any more energy, any more emotional, physical, or mental energy on those situations and experiences. I had to look at it a different way. What did I learn from that? I was a horrible boyfriend. I was a horrible husband. I was a bad father at times. Not easy for me to say because I was a good father. But if I'm being honest, shit. Yeah, I was a bad father at times, and that burns. But you know what? I learned from it because I'm on the path to get my children back. And you know what? I've had to take it slow because I need to do the things I need to do in my life, so I'm not going back into court to grab my children and just bring them away from these women again. That's not how this goes. Love is difficult at times, and we must respect it. And because I respect myself and I love myself, I understand how to love another. And love for your children means attention. And I need to give them that attention when I show up and be there for them. So I learned from my past, which I apply in the moment, but I don't rush it because you've got to be patient with love. And especially when you spend over half your life creating a mountain of negativity and emotional traumas and learning very difficult lessons, you have to be patient with how you apply the education in your life. Because if you've learned from something, then it's no longer a mistake. You know what to do. And that's a key element within education through experiences. It's knowing how to apply the lesson into the next time. I'm not going to rush out and just grab my children and try and take them from their mothers. I would never do that. That's not even what I want to do. That's nowhere near anything I want to do because I'm honest about it. You know, I need to build a relationship with everyone, and I need to heal that when the time is right. You know, so you take something like that, like losing children is losing love, man. Like, that's no easy thing. I can tell you, I think of them every single day. Every day they cross my mind. But I think of them through the eyes of positivity, not negativity, you know? I know all the wonderful things I'm going to teach them, and I know all the wonderful conversations we're going to have, and I know I'm going to have to do some work to undo some emotional traumas that I had a big part in. And that's accountability and responsibility. I can be accountable and responsible for that today because we have to. When we're processing emotions and we're looking at emotional traumas, no matter the experience, there's accountability and responsibility. Usually it's the result of not speaking our truth. That's usually the part that we're all accountable for. 99% of the time. Whatever our role was in the emotional trauma, it was because we didn't speak our truth. And that's okay, because we haven't been taught how to do that. And we want to blame people or play the victim. You know what I mean? Because I was real good at that. I mean, when I lost my kids and I was going through all my stuff, I just blamed everybody for everything else. It just allowed me to use drugs and keep burying myself further into this depression of darkness and negativity, because all I wanted to do was use drugs. I didn't want to process emotions. I didn't even know how. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't even know that you could have love for yourself the way I have love. But you know what? I'm not unique and I'm not special. And there are many others like me. So don't think that what I have you can't have. You just got to open it up within you. And I'm learning how to do this. And I'm going to teach you. I'm going to figure out the formula for the whole world. I really am. And it's through these podcasts and it's through these conversations that I get closer and I get closer. But I'm going to talk about it, because whatever the words I spoke with this connection with Jesus, and I mean, I don't care if it's your connections with Buddha, Krishna, Allah, that's all the same. They all speak to love. And that's all what they're trying to teach us, is to open up the love within so we can share that with everyone on the out. That's what it is. Love is an understanding, not so much an emotion. When you understand love, all you want to do is share and all you want to do is connect. So by speaking those words in prison, it opened in me. It opened in me. And it was free. It didn't cost me anything. The next day, I was this completely different human. Because I had this thing inside of me. It was like, good Lord, what is this? Who am I? You don't spend over half your life with craziness. And all of a sudden you have this sense of peace and harmony and balance and understanding and wisdom. What do you have to lose? Try it. That's where it started with me. And you know what? I'm going to talk about this more and more and more, because I've kind of shied away from talking about spirituality, Jesus, this thing, because religion has made it so weird, the idea of running around and me throwing a Bible in your face. I'm not going to do that ever. I'm not going to do that, because I can't tell you how to get to the awakening of love. All I can do is share from my experience. How you arrive to your awakening of spirituality is going to be personal with you and that thing. There is no right or wrong answer. It's just an ability to try. I mean, the results are what you gain. Education through the application. Through that application, I decided to take on the teachings of all of the prophets as I see them, I guess, just spiritual teachers. Allah, Krishna, Buddha, they all had a kind of a unique little piece of the manual. There's no manual for life, but there is, because it's inside of each and every one of us. All of us are experiencing different lessons along our road. And if we share and communicate with each other, we're able to share the experiences and the education we gained from them, rather than being too afraid to talk about the experiences we had, which keeps us in one place and creates emotional traumas. We take the education that we learned through the experience, as difficult as they may be, and share with another to help them in their life. And that's what education is. That's what life is. It's meant to be difficult. It's meant to be filled with all these crazy experiences so we can share them with each other. That's speaking our truth. And I'll tell you, that's how you heal. That's how you process. That makes a life or a difficult lesson worth everything. Everything that I went through, if I had to come back and do it again, I would. And I mean it. Everything. That's kind of crazy. But I would, because I'm sitting here right now and I'm sharing this with you. And I've had many people step up to me and say, hey man, I've been talking about the things I went through, and I'll tell you, it helps. And I helped someone. And I'm like, man, that's life. Life isn't about making money. It isn't about creating an identity through a job. Companies don't care about you. Education within academics doesn't teach you about the most valuable things on the planet, which is to know who you are before you choose what you want to do. Everybody's got us rushing through life, not processing anything, not thinking for ourselves because they want to think for us. And you know what? I'm tired of that. And I want you to be tired of that too. Because I want you to take back the independence in your life. And I want you to free yourself, man. I want you to feel what I have. I want to give it to you. And I'm going to give it to you one way or another. And if I'm going to give that to you, through me sharing through experiences, get ready for it. Because I'm not stopping. And I'm going to get better at this. Because my whole motive is not to be popular, not to make money. None of this stuff matters to me. What it is to inspire you to go on a journey within and grow within love for yourself, so you can share that and inspire another around you, because that's how we change the world. I don't need to put energy into wasting my time trying to expose what governments and corporations are doing to the planet and to the people. It's horrible. We all know that. That's why we're all caught inside of medication and addiction and whatever it looks like, you know? We know that that's happening around us. If I focus on the positives, though, and I try and raise an awareness and understanding of self within each and every one of us, or as many as I can, and you share that with someone else, man, this is creating a new reality. This is how we change the world. We change it within ourselves. We are the world. We're all a part of it. Money has divided us. It's a horrible tool. It is. Money is just a tool for spiritual unfoldment. This is what I've come to learn. The more you have, the more sick you get. It's a reality. They have us believe that if we want to find happiness and be free, it's within financial freedom. I can promise you that that is the furthest thing from the truth, because many people are trying to buy happiness. I mean, that's why we shop. That's why we're attracted to sales and this and that. It's all a psychological manipulation of having you distract from where everything matters on the inside. They want to sell it to you on the outside, but you have the power to break free from that, because you have the choice where you put your money, where you put your time, and most importantly, where you put your energy. Because energy is everything, and that's why I choose to do it this way, in this manner. And that's why I want you to see life from a different perspective. And that's why I speak about spirituality, and that's why I'm going to continue to speak about it, because it's time. It really is. It's time. Everyone's tired of being afraid all the time, you know, fear, anxiety, and stress being sold to us and manipulated within our daily practices. It's just getting old and it's getting boring. And I mean, even out here traveling, they're always trying to sell you something. Sell, sell, sell. I'm tired of people trying to sell me things. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't need it. I really don't need it. It's boring. It's really become boring. I mean, even people being stuck on their phone all the time. I watch people when they're scrolling, because I'm not really on my phone that much, only to check, you know, my social media and whatnot. I don't gravitate towards it. There's nothing there for me. But I watch people on their phones, and they're just scrolling from home screen back, home screen forward. They click on an app, scroll 3 seconds, click on another app, scroll 3 seconds. They're bored. They're bored, but they don't know what else to do. So, if you're looking to do something with your time, go inside of yourself. Open up doors with understanding. Look at your past. Realize how you have arrived at that place. Maybe your parents controlled you. Maybe your parents taught you all these bad behaviors. More than likely they did. And just appreciate why they did that. Because they weren't taught correctly how to parent. Because how we parent today is incorrect. We should be parenting within communities. So we have multiple perspectives given to us through multiple experiences, giving us multiple gifts of education through different avenues. It allows us to create and cultivate a sense of being within many others, not just two individuals, or in most cases these days, one individual. Which, shout out to both of my baby mamas, or the mothers taking care of my children, for, you know, me doing what you're doing. And I really appreciate you both for that. They won't listen to this because neither one of them like me, which is totally fair. But just know how much I appreciate you for stepping up and being there for my children. And that message is for any single parent. You know, if you're parenting and you're just one, I really respect you, and the things that I'm trying to do is try and build a community so that we don't have to do this, even if two individuals can't coexist. That way, there will be more hands and alleviation, so that the parent has time to process emotions and really ground themselves within a practice of understanding. Because we're not meant to give all of our time and attention to everybody else. That's another big distraction that we do, people pleasers. Even if it's within our children, some people's identities is they're being parents. My children are everything. Well, that's not good, because you're taking no time for yourself. Your children aren't going to get to actually know who you are, because all you do is spend all your time giving everything to them, and you're not building up any love within yourself. So very quickly you become depleted, and they rely on you for everything because you do everything for them, which teaches them nothing about real world life. So that's just something to become aware of if you're parenting. Parenting is the most important job in the world. And this year I'm speaking in schools. I'm moving for it. I'm going to get there. And I just really, there's two sides to parenting. There's being a child, which we need to learn from. We need to learn from our children. And we also need to guide. We don't need to control and restrict. That's not parenting. And embed fear. So that's the furthest thing from it. But if you've been taught that through your upbringing, just become aware of it and allow your children to speak their truth and communicate, because communication is everything. It's how you'll learn, right? And if you're a parent, build a relationship with your children, obviously within guiding them along the path, the journey, but allow them to make mistakes and encourage it. This idea of perfectionism is an illusion. There is nothing that's perfect, because you don't learn from perfectionism, right? If everything was perfect and everyone was the same, it would be a pretty boring place. We have to appreciate our uniqueness and the gifts that we are able to share as being an individual. I mean, shit, man, that's something you should really value. If this vessel, this costume, this body, this physical body that you're wearing is big, small, missing an arm, missing a leg, whatever, a different color, different eyes, doesn't matter. Appreciate that. It's just the vessel, just the costume that you are wearing for this life. It's external to you. It doesn't matter. If people judge you based on an external appearance, just move away from them. There's 8 billion people on the planet. Don't let somebody bring you down because their insecurities are coming out by looking at you. Just embrace it, man. If you're big, you're small, who cares? It's just how it goes for this life. Because once you unlock spirituality and you unlock the love within, you're going to take care of 3 things. You're going to see the value within 3 things: mind, body, and soul. You need to nurture those 3 things like a triangle. Having that education and being ready for this attention to detail within you, these 3 things that matter. Oh, I butchered that. I tried to make a triangle for you too, but I did it wrong. But these 3 things that you give attention to and value will shape a divinity within you, something divine, something pure, something beautiful, something filled with love, light, passion, compassion, inspiration. It grows in you because you appreciate self. We rush into relationships and we rush into all these things because we've been taught that from a very young age, but mind, body, and soul will slow you down. And if you're going to focus on mind, body, and soul, you got to give that time and be free from distractions to give it the time it deserves. And not only give it time, but value it. Because the things we value become priceless, right? Valuing materialism doesn't get you anywhere. That's why we keep trying to buy more, or people who have a lot only need more, because it doesn't do anything. It keeps you hollow, right? Everything that matters comes from within. So no matter your situation in the world, if you come from a place with less money, that's your journey. This is your lesson. And to be honest with you, people with less actually are closer to community, because when you have less, you have to come together. So that's a beautiful thing to be a part of. So don't shy away from your experience or your lesson. Wherever you're growing up with, you need to look at it as it happening for you, not to you. Detach from the emotional repetitive cycle that you're in, because it isn't serving you no purpose to be reliving an emotion time and time and time again. I mean, years are going by, right? And it hasn't done anything, because a lot of people just sit and wait and hope everything's going to get better. it isn't going to get better. You got to look at it from a different perspective and teach yourself something new by learning from the experience. That's processing emotion, and it's easy. It's easy. Life is simple, but the truth can be difficult to arrive to. But it's only as difficult as you make it. So if you're ready to learn and you're ready to speak your truth and you're ready to be honest and authentic with yourself and unlock the love within you, man, you're going to grow. And you're going to move through those emotional traumas because you're not going to be carrying around baggage no more. You can have a bag of education, and that's a tool. Use that in your practice. Remember, fill the bag with education. Take out the emotional trauma, learn from that trauma, and put the education in a new bag. Trust me, it'll be a lot lighter, and it'll help you along your way. It won't keep you in the past. It'll help move you forward. It's the greatest, coolest thing that can happen in life. And we're going to get there, and we're going to process, and we're going to move through things together. And if you need me, always please just message me on my Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram is Real Talk for an Unreal World. My Twitter is Real Talk, the number 4 Unreal, and my Gmail is Real Talk for an Unreal World at gmail.com, because I'm real. And as you can see, and as you know, if you're listening to my stuff, I am vulnerable as can be, because once you unlock vulnerability, you realize you're just a human being on a journey. And the journey is meant to be shared because others can learn from it. Now, you don't have to get in front of a microphone or a camera and display your life in this manner, because to change the world, sometimes all you got to do is help one person. And we can change the world in this manner. And the experiences that we have faced, no matter the difficulty in life, can help another grow through theirs. And that helps build the manual for life. And the more we come together, and the sooner we come together, the faster we're going to grow and evolve into this higher consciousness that I know exists. But first, we got to move through the pain. We got to move through the emotions that hold us back and see the experiences from a different perspective. And this allows us to move through it. So I know I've given you that a few times because I'm trying to plant that seed, because I know you can grow and I know you can do this. And I believe in you, but you got to believe in yourself. You know what I mean? It's you and nobody else, because that's where it begins. Just you and love. Unlock the spirituality. Much love for everyone listening to my stuff. Appreciate yourself for this, please. I mean, I'm so grateful and happy to share this and have people listen, and that's the most beautiful thing to me. But really appreciate yourself for being ready and even listening, just opening your mind to something new. I mean, hey, please appreciate yourself, because that's such a beautiful gift, to be ready to break fear, anxiety, and stress and live in love. Much love. For real. Thank you.